Hello and welcome to today's session here on my channel. Today we want to talk about event modeling and event streaming. So like 5 years ago or something, I heard about that event modeling and event streaming, actually from Adam Dimitruk, which we have with us today. But I never really got around testing it out or trying it or even using it in production. And that always kind of bothered me. But now with AI, I thought, well, maybe I can give this another shot because like I was at JCon and watched the session of Markus Eiserle from IBM. And he had a session called Code is Cheap, Software Isn't. And I liked that idea. So we can easily let the AI do all the coding, but we want to do the modeling and the architecture work. So I asked Adam Dimitruk to join me here to the session to kind of show me event modeling, event sourcing, and how we can use AI with this. And of course, I want to do this a bit in the context of Java, so we'll try to implement a little Java application. So, without further ado, hello, Adam. You're still muted, but that's
Hello.
all right.
I found the unmute button. Thank you for
great.
having me, Johannes.
Yeah, thanks for being here. You are kind of the founder, the coiner of the term event modeling, and you've been doing this for over 10 years.
Yes,
right?
Probably in some form or fashion, probably longer. But in what you currently see as event modeling, I would say it goes around 10 years, probably 2016.
Yeah.
For various reasons, it was completed then. So it mostly became a reality when I had to start running my own company, doing event sourcing projects. And that's when the pressure hit, and I had to make sure that what I was using was fully featured to be able to make software properly and fulfill all the duties that you need in the complete software development lifecycle. And that's how event modeling became what it is. The name came later.
Okay, yeah. So I read on your LinkedIn that you've been coding since 1983.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Actually, on pen and paper before. I wanted a computer so badly that before my parents could afford a computer for me, I would write programs on paper to imagine what it would do, and rented books from the library that were, example code of usually games and things, whatever. Whatever a 9-year-old boy is interested in, mostly video games. And that's amazing. Going back to the 8-bit era of Commodore 64, and then I got my computer as soon as possible, and then unfortunately there was no storage. So the storage is near and dear to me because every time you turned off the Commodore 64 in the evening, your program went poof, and to type it all in again the next day. So that's what made me type faster than most other kids, for sure.
Amazing. Oh, so you don't do 10-finger system, right? Oh, is it called 10-finger system?
I do touch typing. I ended up it was easy for me, obviously, through high school and all that. Any typing course was like, I'll take this. There's no effort for me. It's an easy A. I can get an A+, no problem. Nice. Because I've been doing this before any other kid touched it. So really cool. I touch type, and I use Dvorak layout, and I can type on both, but mostly Dvorak.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. So you told me beforehand that actually event modeling kind of got you back into coding or reignited your passion for coding. Would you mind telling us a bit about your origin story of Adam and of event modeling?
Yeah, so I was really frustrated with the industry, as most people are. A lot of the dysfunction. Everyone wants to kind of improve where they work. And so I was a consultant, always trying to do the next best thing, try to adopt and instill agile, and learned all that. And, all of these different things. So sorry, there's a dog barking outside. It's yeah, every time there's these dogs out there in the alley, they keep barking. So I don't know if you can hear that, but it's nice.
A tiny bit.
So yeah, it's basically in two stages. So one of the first things out of the frustration with the software development industry was obviously runaway costs and accountability for who's doing the work. I later discovered that Agile really was just passing the buck to the wrong person. There's a lot of blame game and shirking your responsibility so that you could blame others. There's real kind of management. There's a big management angle to Agile, which I didn't like. In the end, I mean, I practiced it, I taught it. I was a TDD aficionado and behavior-driven development and all that. I used all sorts of fixtures for specifications long before any spec-driven development stuff happened in AI. But the key was that software had a lot of rework and there's a lot of problems. So the first thing that got me on the right train of thinking was seeing someone actually use event sourcing in reality to actually use it for production, because I read the initial article on event sourcing from Martin Fowler in 2005, December 2005, I think is when he published the event sourcing article. Event sourcing is nothing new. It's just, just like blockchain works, you can only add information, and then you can project whatever you want from that information that's stored. So, and the idea existed for thousands of years in accounting and other disciplines, wherever you needed that type of storage. So the one thing that stood out to me was that, okay, if other people are doing this, and this was, I think, Greg Young was doing this, and I managed to somehow end up working across the street from him. So I saw that this was actually being executed in one of my favorite areas, which was mathematics and statistics and finance. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I always wanted to work like that because they work off of ledgers. You can't change what trades happened in the past. That is the truth. So this is like music to my ears. And, learning to apply this to regular information systems like your regular Amazon store or whatever else, it worked as well. You could just see that if you captured all information as time went on, you could create whatever projection you wanted from that. In fact, databases work like that anyway. There's a transaction log underneath your databases. You see beautiful tables and joins and all this kind of stuff, but underneath there's a transaction log that stores all the interactions from all the different users in a transaction log that is then projected as tables for you to use as you're with Postgres or whatever. So very, very similar things we already do. But the interesting part about seeing what that unlocked, because you could then do whatever you wanted with that information, and that was a very reliable information because it was immutable. You knew that once an event was in there, you could rely on that being there forever. So it started to really play into things like open close principles. Some of these things about, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Stop doing, don't repeat yourself. So you can repeat yourself. You're actually encouraged to repeat yourself because you remove the coupling. If I have one screen that does a specific thing and I have a screen later on that does almost the right thing, our traditional education tells us to make an abstraction, make a base class, and have two that are derived and all this fancy abstraction stuff. And the problem with that is it looks good on paper, but you really coupled those two areas together. So if one developer is working on that screen, another developer is working on this screen, that's where the problem starts, because now they have to coordinate with each other. And then with an application, this explodes, obviously, exponentially to how many connections between each different screen and each developer. And that's what grinds the system to a halt. With event sourcing, having a bespoke projection from the same event, so you have a really good way of guaranteeing that you're relying on the same information, but not directly coupling to these screens together, is the magic. And so that unlocked a flat cost curve, and all these different things went away. So I noticed that. The problem was that in order to work this way, we had Jira tickets and traditional ways of specifying software. They worked. We all love Jira tickets. Sourcing. They worked, but they weren't ideal. And so event modeling came from the fact that, hey, listen, if I can, tell a story and have a storyboard of what's happening, that's also like an immutable set of facts. I don't care what abstractions I'm using. I don't need to learn about any kind of domain-driven design concepts, etc. I can use whatever abstractions I need as long as the story unfolds as we agreed to, and how we drew the pictures across and say, this is the storyboard for our movie. When we use our system, this is the movie that tells us about how the system works. And that's where specification by example and behavior-driven development get taken to the next level, by actually embedding it into the system design itself. And inherently, that system design is more human-friendly because we think of stories, we remember stories more easily. And so this is a much nicer spec and design than boxes and arrows, which you can think, oh, when do I use this box? When does this arrow get activated?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have to guess or wonder or look things up. With an event model, you kind of go left to right, and you know exactly when things are being used, and when those relationships come into play. And so it's just more human friendly, and that's why we recall things better. And then, so yeah, that's kind of like 90. I mentioned that this took off to the next level in 2015, 2016, because that's when I started my company, where I needed to do more with less. I was starting by myself, starting to hire people, and so couldn't really afford to have a product manager, a project manager, to have QA people, to have any number of roles. I would have to wear all the hats, and then whoever joined me, they would have to wear all those hats. So how can I make a system that inherently has these naturally taken care of without having to hire someone for doing the management of how software gets developed? And the event model kind of answers all that. So as we go through our exercise, we can sort of stop and take note of, like, oh yeah, this is where a tester would do something like this. Oh yeah, this is where a project manager would do something like this that's in their job description. You can sort of see where you can fit all of those traditional roles of software in a software development life cycle, and whoever's involved, where they all jump in, and how they use the same artifact for what they need. And that's kind of the beautiful thing. The other thing that I realize is that this is a single living document that has to facilitate all communication. You always heard of documentation going stale, right? Someone writes entry into a wiki page, and then no one updates it, and it's the code's doing something else, specifications are doing something else, and implementation's doing something else. So it's really not helping you. In fact, it's probably setting you up for failure, because you're looking at outdated documentation to try and understand what currently is in the system. With event modeling, that is mandated to be the vehicle for all ideas between any responsibility. So nothing is ever out of sync, because the artifact is the communication mechanism.
So many questions.
Yes.
Okay.
Usually are. So it's definitely like, sometimes people look at me like I have, two heads. I'm not normal, because this doesn't sound right in traditional software development. But it's magical once you see that it's actually software development that's not natural compared to how humans work.
Okay. All right. So that was a brief overview over the topic. What I would like to do is get more into the explanation of event sourcing and event modeling.
Sure.
And then when we cover that, we could dive right into developing a food delivery app. That's an example I picked just because I thought
you to code something, you'll code it for me, because I'm not a good Java developer. I mean, I'm not.
I
could do it, but with
the trick is we are using AI.
Okay.
So we both don't have to write any code, hopefully.
Okay.
If all runs well.
You have a food delivery app, and so we could start. So as I said, the event model is really where our documentation and specifications and everything lives. And it's in a very easy format that you can understand. That's like a storyboard for a movie. You have pictures of what the screens will show over time as you're using the system with example data. Down below, you'll show, as you go through those screens, what is it storing? And you don't have to come up with designing tables or whatever. You're just storing what fact got stored. If I signed up, well, there's a signed up event with all the information you put into that form. If you put something into a cart or if you scheduled some delivery, in our case, delivery scheduled for whatever it is, well, that information is just stored in that one little fact event on a timeline. And it goes below what you would have in wireframes. You have sometimes the wireframe storyboards, like in Balsamic or something else. Now it's Figma and other things, right? We design the UI. Balsamic was like the wireframe version of Figma. I don't know if anyone uses Balsamic anymore. I'm aging myself here.
I know Figma, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I'm old, and we used to use something else. It's not for design. It's really about the idea. So the wireframes is not about how it looks and how it feels. It's about what information is presented, and really about the UX, not the UI design part, but saying like what elements will be there. And it's a very sketchy, like kind of what you would do with a pencil and paper, black and white. That's anyway. You can look it up later. So that's kind of where we're at. We kind of don't want to spend too much time on designing the interfaces. We just want to have a quick 2 minutes tops on each screen. Okay, I'm going to have these. It's going to show this, this, and this. Quickly do that, and then what happens next? And we draw another screen, and what happens next? When we don't have to do the whole thing. We can look into, what is the core of our application. If it's a food delivery service, obviously we want something that shows what the user sees when they schedule, when they order something, or maybe when they receive something. What does the delivery driver see when they're doing that, right? We can pick, a part of the whole book, if you think of this as a whole story, from setting up the system to putting inventory in for getting customers and customers ordering things. We can dive right into the middle, right, and work outwards. So a lot of times event modeling is thought of as like, well, I need to do this big design up front. I need to have everything there before I start. Well, that's not true at all. It's entirely flexible. You can start with core pieces that you want to have, and you can forget the details. I really don't care how people sign up and register. That's probably the same as everything else, so let's not bother. Let's just start with the things that are important, and like an onion layer, just go outwards to backfill everything else. And the nice thing about this is that the events also form very, very good contracts for gluing these different parts, these different chapters of the book together. Because at the end of these chapters, I know that I have these events on disk somewhere, and I know that I can start doing this workflow because I have a guarantee that I can find what I need to start whatever I want. Does that make sense? Do you want to start like that?
Yeah, I think it does. But
okay.
We need an example for this. I would like to just quickly try to get my understanding of event sourcing.
Okay.
So event sourcing for me is this idea that I have an order. Well, yeah. So I have an order, number one, in a table.
Mm-hmm.
And it has some kind of state. Maybe it's order received.
Okay.
Okay. And so if the order is received and then the order is, I don't know, paid. No, that's the wrong order. The order is delivered. Okay. Then we need to erase that and say the state is now order delivered.
Mm-hmm.
So that's for me like the table thinking, this CRUD.
Yeah, so you're basically flipping something in a table, saying,
right,
delivered is flipped from false to true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct.
True. So every time you change something, you just change the value in this area.
That's right. And you're losing information basically because you don't. Well, you could probably have a backup of your database or whatever, or people sometimes try to put in retroactively, history tables and have some fancy SQL to put an entry in there when you make a change. But that's really not rarely works. So people drop that very quickly.
Right. And so with event sourcing, you just get kind of this stream where you have still an order and you have the state change order received.
That's right.
And then if the order is delivered, you have another event and you say order delivered.
And there could be many in between, such as is out for shipping or
right,
has been handled by the delivery driver, or has been processed at the warehouse. It could be a number of them before you actually have it delivered. But sure, this is a case of doing that. Yes,
right. But the point is, you have all these events in your data source.
That's right.
And you keep them, and you just only always append new events.
That's right.
And then what's different is you have aggregate. Is that the name where you have kind of like a view on this whole thing?
Yeah,
Like
that term is actually from domain-driven design. It's not necessary for event sourcing, but you could associate events by any property. In this case, you can use an ID to glue them all together, and that's very helpful for if you want to do large-scale systems where you need to have multiple nodes. So you'll have these also as something that helps you with your transactional boundaries and transactional integrity. But as we think as humans of previous events, you think about where you lived. I moved this year. I did this year, etc. When you think about how you project that into your taxes or whatever, we don't, as humans, necessarily need an ID for all the events, yet our minds work in an event-sourced way as well. After you move, let's say you moved to a different house 2 weeks ago, do you forget your address immediately from your old place? No, you probably have a few fallout things, such as getting your mail forwarded to the new place, etc., and all sorts of things with your insurance and bills, and so lots of projections off of those things. And so I really want to always, when I'm talking about event sourcing, is go back to how humans think and how we made information systems before computers, because we had things in filing cabinets, we had indexing in there. So what you're talking about is exactly this, like the call number for a book in a library. You go to the little cards to find the book you want, and well, you used to. You're too young for this. I'm talking about a totally different generation of people now. Where if you go to a library, you can find a book through an index. And
we are still doing that actually with the children, because they read a lot. I don't.
Okay. I'm happy to hear. So event sourcing is really, it transcends computers, which is why it's so powerful, because humans can relate to how that works.
Yeah, I understand that. And like it's just for me, the way I always understand it is with Git. Git works basically the same way, right? It's just appending.
You don't erase anything. You don't. You always have a new commit. You want to make a change. It's like accounting. You have to just make another entry. If I give you a check and I made the wrong total on the cash amount, and you go and cash it, there's not much we can do. We can't go to the bank and press an undo button. We have to have compensating actions. I have to. You have to write me a check if I gave you too much money, or I have to write you another check if I gave you too little money. We just have to add things. So that mentality is the same that you want when you're doing this. It's quite powerful, and it's actually very freeing. It actually eliminates a lot of complications, as we'll see.
Exactly. Okay. All right. So this is event sourcing. At least from my perspective, it's really the idea, I think, is really simple. Mm-hmm. The execution might be another thing, but
I mean, a lot of people complicate it technically for two reasons. They try to be too fancy, and they try to solve all future problems at the moment with what they're doing. We'll see that that's not necessary, because you can pivot very easily. It's a very flexible solution to start to interpret your past events in a new way, whereas in a traditional system, you'd be doing a lot of work for doing schema migrations, which are virtually absent when you're talking about the effort of doing that here. So yeah, I mean, the way that I like to think about event sourcing is that you make a deal to not throw away information. Now, that essentially gets you down the path of how do I do that? You end up in event sourcing, and the reason it's simple is because there's really a couple of patterns that you use over and over again. So you're not opening up a Martin Fowler book of patterns to start developing in there. You can get going incredibly quickly in event sourcing, because all you have to do is understand how you go and read what happened in the past, and then if it's inefficient, you already alluded to indexes to find a specific order. So obviously you have to have a way to find them fast. After a year of running a system, you might have 20 million records in there. Well, you don't want to read all 20 million records every time you want to do something. So you start to layer on caches and calculated things, and that's actually how all systems work anyway under the hood. And this is just a direct access to that, and to really understand how that helps you is quite powerful, and makes it simple. So yeah, event sourcing to me is really doing a couple of patterns over and over again, decomposing larger workflow complications to be elaborated horizontally over like little Lego pieces. You can build a Lego house, but you can use small little pieces, the same ones, to make a structure that you want, that makes a unique solution that you want. But underneath, the molecules are the same to make the solution. So yeah, you get it. I mean, that's exactly right. So instead of looking at a table, you're doing you're iterating over an array to see what you can find and interpret what you find to get the information you want. So if you added items to an order, removed them from an order, added them back, added more items, you're looking at this plus minus, plus 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 minus, and in the end you have, well, that means what happened at the end of all that? I'm left with, this milk and this bread. But in the meantime, I added butter, I removed the butter, but right now when I'm ready to check out, I know what's in there, and I can always get that from the history of what happened in that order, like we said. But that's all. And that's actually powerful information. Like you kind of, as a system owner, you probably want to know how people are using your system. So if some people are going and putting things in their cart and then taking them out, that's probably good information, whether you're doing a good job providing the service or if the person that's producing the product, whether that's something you can tell them that, hey, people are looking at your stuff, but then they decide against buying it for some reason. Maybe that's information that could make them happy because it could solve a problem as to why people aren't buying more of their stuff.
And that's actually something really useful for AI as well. So because
absolutely.
You have all this history, AI can very quickly learn from that and then give you.
Well, do you know why?
Examples.
AI has been trained on conversations and stories because we convey conversations and stories in forums, in threads on Stack Overflow, in other discussions on forums. It's not code that really AI learned about us. AI and the LLMs that seem to appear like they're human learned by predicting what the next word is, and that's kind of how you read a book. You can you can very easily tell AI to say, write me a book about a fairy tale for children. Write me chapter 1. It'll come up with some ideas. It'll be very good. There's going to be 10 chapters. Now write chapter 2. Try it, right? It's amazing how good it is at that because it was trained on how humans talk, and humans talk in stories. We naturally have a temporal aspect to data in our heads. And now it's finally come full circle that, we need to interact with AI in what is best for us because AI was trained on us.
Yeah.
Don't do things that are good for computers. Computers are a crutch to getting fully automated, right? The last 50 years are the basic, it's a blink of an eye in human history and the history of the world. It's not a very long time at all if you think about it. Of all the things, you look at the first human flight, what was it, 1914 or something? I forget what year was it? The Wright brothers. And then 50 years later we're on the moon, right? You think about it. So it's when you think about things like that, the stuff that we're doing technically is very transient, but how we interpret systems and how we build systems as humans, we need things that are good for us, and storytelling is a big key of how we communicate, how systems work, how we store information.
That's true.
Like that for millennia.
Yeah. So Ed Hold Up said, I have been using finite state automatons for low-level I/O, but I have been using this for every event-driven task with state like TCP. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of this stuff doesn't matter what you're doing. So sometimes I always say the safe thing for me to say is that information systems are where I use event sourcing. And people say, well, where is event sourcing not useful? And most of the time I would say it's like, well, it's something academic or highly technical. I'm making a new search algorithm or something. Well, yeah, you could make a case that event modeling probably isn't the best and event sourcing isn't the best for it. But I've started to find that it's actually applicable to more things than I thought. The breadcrumb trail you get, for example, working on trading systems, when you're going through a filtration of different criteria for that, or making a large invoice with many items on it, you could try to do it as one projection and just have a very convoluted piece of code that adjusts things as it sees new things. But you could decompose that into stages. And so in event modeling and event sourcing, we have processors, which basically work off of to-do lists. where you can say, okay, I know how I got to this part. Sort of like a debug, console.log in the middle of your program, but for humans, because you can see the events on disk at certain points. Okay, I can hand this over to the next part that starts to maybe do the line items in the invoice, and maybe this one takes care of the delivery instructions on the top right, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get into all that, but
right.
I found that you can, over many years, I saw that this is actually applicable to more and more and more things as I explored other domains and other problems.
Yeah. But so let's dive into our food delivery app.
Yeah,
and see.
So what's the? I mean, one
works.
thing I would say with event modeling and event sourcing is that if we start, I would ask you, what is the most important thing about your system? What is the number one goal? What is the trickiest part? What's the part that's going to make you feel like you're building something? If you can point at one screen in the middle of all this, what would it be? Could be at the end, order.
Let's say we want the user to see where the food is, where the order is currently, so the user gets a good knowledge of when it will arrive, what's being done.
Oh, okay, so I mean, I usually start with shapes. So you could do, a shape like this. That's your screen, and then you could even use, I guess, a map. I don't know if they have. Here, there's a map. I could put a little Google Maps.
Yeah. So Adam just told me to create a Miro account, so we use Miro for all this modeling right now.
But anything works. You don't have to use Miro. Yeah. You can use Excalidraw. You can use whatever. And then, of course, as we'll get to later on in the session, there are tools that allow you to do event modeling specifically, because you'll notice there's a format for an event model. Mm-hmm. So instead of having a blank canvas where you can drag everything anywhere you want and make it all disorganized, it's nice to have something like a spreadsheet for your numbers. Well, you can have an event modeling tool, which Martin Dilger has been building to generate code and also generate the event model itself, and to place things like you see behind me. There's an example event model, which you can see this horizontal story. You also see the vertical aspect of it. So that's kind of what we're doing. So yeah, if you want to see where this is, we can have a little delivery truck too. Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. Well, this is, where's that shapes?
Stickers.
Okay, maybe not Google Maps. Maybe let's just get rid of that and make a generic one here. There's a little map. So if this is our map of where we are, and then we can put a little point of where we are. Oh yeah, you can also do that. That's good. I like this little truck. That's cute. Okay. So there we are. And the truck, let's just put this on the other side. Here's our destination, right? And we could do a second one to say where we started. Right. So we have a little truck going from here to here, and the delivery is halfway done. So what information do we need to show this to the user? Right? We probably need some previous events that have happened to say, well, this is kind of like the brainstorming aspect where we say, well, you probably have order placed, right?
Right.
Right. And then, or started, something like started, because we want to start an order. We want to also add bread or add item to that, to order, add item. Right, something like that.
Yeah.
What else will we have? We would have finalize order, right? We checked everything that we want, so finalize. We also probably want to say where to deliver it, right? So
right, address.
Yeah. Right, something like that. Okay. And then probably we will want to, and so the other thing is we want to put these in past tense, because there will be a screen that says, hey, I want to start the order. and it'll be a command that says, can I do that? Maybe you can't. Maybe you don't have an account, and it can be rejected. So in event sourcing and event modeling, we have the idea of these other two types of things, which I haven't talked about yet, which is the blue boxes and the green boxes, which are telling us which steps are input and which steps are output, or which steps, more importantly, are changing the state of the system, and which steps are just informing us of what's already in there. That's the way I like to describe it. So if we look at a green one here, so yeah, information coming out. So for example, all the information that we need to display this map comes from things like this. So this info comes from here, and it is collected by all of these things. Out we go. Maybe not all of them. Maybe it's just the shipping in this case, right? So this is the part where we actually don't want these. We probably don't care about what's in the order at this point to show a map, which is actually interesting. So we see that we have to do all these events, but for this screen, we actually only have this. And then we have, driver started.
So give me 1 second again. So the blue ones are for what? What do you do with the blue ones?
Oh, well, let me give you an example. So the blue one is like, how do I start an order, right? If I have another screen here, so let me get my shapes. Where are my shapes here? So I have a screen here. Called start order. Let me just put that in the top left here. So I have a screen that has a start order, and over here I can have this is a place where you may have some calculations or other things, and for example, in order for no pun intended, for this to work, you may have some information that you will get beforehand, such as the status of your account, for example. And if you haven't verified your email, you might actually not be able to do that, and you'll get an error instead. So this is the intent to do something, which can get rejected. It can maybe calculate some things, like maybe it's a first-time order, so maybe it also will add extra information into the order started, where it says initial order deposit, $100 deposit needed on the first transaction. So that's okay. That's where you would have your alternate flows. We're just doing the happy path now, but this is usually where people start to say, well, real systems aren't just a linear story. We have the tree. But to understand the story, we have to take one path through it and see end to end how it works first. From then, we can hang different alternate workflows. And there's 3 different ways we can do that. We can either just put in something like, let's just say that we couldn't start the order first. So let's give an example. We could just inline another flow in beforehand, where we say, okay, well, in this case, it didn't work. Delete that, and we can show with a red sticky here, or actually just let's just copy the and here we can add an error message. We say can't start order without email verification.
So these screens are something that is shown in whatever way.
That's right.
Possible.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And to whom? Who is seeing that screen? Are there any actors defined?
Yes, there are. Perfect. Exact question. Thank you. So in this case, We are talking about the user. So if we have, there's my shapes, callouts. Where's a user thing? I don't know if I have many icons here. Well, we have UML, which I can't use because of this upgrade. So do we not have a simple shape for a human?
I think in the emojis there, you can use.
Oh yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know, human.
Yeah. Where are you finding the emojis?
On the bottom left.
Oh, create diagram.
Stickers.
No.
Emojis.
Stickers. Yeah, I haven't. I'm using Draw.io for my stuff. That's behind me.
Oh, okay.
Find a human, a user. Any human will do.
Let's just put in here. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So if we have that, so we can have the actual customer here, but we can also have another swim lane. Oops, I'm not doing that. Okay, there we go. We can have another swim lane for like the admin, right? So we can have. Where's my text here? So we can have customer. So Joe, you can say Joe. I like to actually have personas in here like Joe, and then we can just put in customer. Right, we can have a delivery person, but then here we can have John, which is maybe the admin, or driver, right? Maybe we have the driver. If we want to do it this way. So anyway, my point here was that if we don't have enough information, this can actually throw an error because it's not processed correctly. And until you have something in your history, oops, like here, where we have email verified, then we would have actually have this order started properly. So, I mean, that's a UX thing. Whether you could probably have everyone do the actual order and then say, hey, before you can, get this person to ship it to you, you have to provide an email, and then you have to provide the payment.
Yeah. Okay.
So sometimes you don't want to scare off your clients or customers by asking for all the payment and other information up front. You want them just to use the system ASAP, get happy with what they did, and then, oh, by the way, you have to specify an email. Oh, by the way, you have to pay for it at the end. So that's why event modeling is really good for also talking about the UX, because you can talk to the designers and the product owners and whoever else saying, like, is this kind of what we want the user experience to be? Do we want to ask for email at the beginning, or do we want them just to get going ASAP so they get addicted and hooked on the system? They already have things in their cart. They're like, oh, I wish I could have this. And then so they're willing to actually sign up and they're willing to pay. Whereas if you try to ask for all that up front, they haven't seen how nice your system is, and they're going to go, I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But so it's nice to have this, human kind of level of interaction with the system while still keeping it technical enough to have this act as your specification for how the system is going to actually be implemented and work. Yep. So, okay. So yeah, this is a current route status.
So what's the green one again?
That's basically where you can say, well, I'll give you an example. So we'll use real data. It's easier to see with real data. Okay. So, you have to show the warehouse, right? Somewhere before here, we have there's many warehouses, right? So let's just say for this case, we have one. But if we have one warehouse somewhere in the beginning here, the administrator would probably have, a warehouse address added, or just warehouse added, right? And then in there would be a property address. Something like that, right? And so, of course, this would be very necessary to be able to, show this map, right? I hate these arrows. You have to stretch them like this, and then you have to stretch them like that, sort of.
Okay.
It's fun, but anyway. Yeah. So you can see that we have these relevant events here. Somewhere before we have a warehouse address provided. We have the shipping info for the order. So that gets us, this one and this one. We can probably have it in there. And then we have the started route. So, that event, obviously the little truck is here, at the very beginning. And then we can also show that, hey, we have the next step. We have the little truck somewhere in the. I keep not being able to grab the truck. There we go. So now it's in the middle, and over here, Control copy V. Okay, and over here we have driver checkpoint crossed, or whatever it is. It could be a driver location updated heartbeat. Right, so I don't have to draw the same arrows to this one because I know it's the same, but I want to show how this looks with one more event added. And so now the little truck is here, right?
Yeah,
and we can say, driver arrived, right? And so then we just copy this again. And then, of course, we show the little truck now, oops, over here at the destination, right? And so we can see that these are good specifications, which we'll do in our implementation. That these.
So is this green one an output?
Yeah, green one's an output. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
There's two ways to say output. Output is either like in an input-output system. What is your result of doing something as a result of inputs? But I like to call this as what is a state? Asking a question. What's the state of my application? And in particular, which specific piece of state am I interested in? Am I interested in all the drivers? And am I interested in the status of this customer? Am I interested in all of that? In this case, I'm interested only in this one truck, where it is. And I can derive that information by filtering and projecting through all relevant events in the history. And of course, you would optimize that. Like you said, there's IDs there and all sorts of things you can do so that this is a very quick thing. And also these green things can be their own tables in a database that, hey, as new events happen, they just get updated. And if I want to show this screen with, the little truck being at the right place, I know I'm doing a select statement from a table that tells me what I need to show. And I don't care about the events and all that. I actually have this select star almost in terms of how easy it is to take that one table that's specifically built for this purpose. It doesn't share duties with any other part of the system, notice, right? The events are the glue that glues the system together. But I don't have to care about how the user specified the items, whether they had lots of items or not, whatever. The driver just cares about moving the package from A to B. Doesn't care about how many items are in there and all those things. So does that make sense?
I think so. So all these orange events, these are events, right?
Yes.
These are things that are happening.
In the system. Yes.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that this is an event in the sense of event sourcing where we have to store that. That doesn't apply here.
No,
not necessarily.
I would store this. This is stored.
Okay.
Everything is stored the same way. Just think of adding yet another item to the long list of things, because you want to report at the end, like, hey, what happened on your route? Maybe you have a report that says, how efficient is this driver? They are definitely going to have all of these events projected to, something else, such as we can have another role up there called manager, driving or shipping manager, where they review this and they hire and fire good delivery drivers, right? So you could have, delivery
history or something, right?
Efficiency.
Yeah. Okay.
And that could be on a screen in our system, and maybe it's a rudimentary one where we don't really care about anything else except these two last ones, right? Maybe I really don't care about how many stops they made or what their excuses are for being late, right? We have these drivers started a route and driver arrived, and if this fills out a table where we can do a group by and sum and then have a time, average time or average or whatever, maybe it's the total number of kilometers or something. Who knows what it is? But now, does this give you an idea of what state projection is? Because I'm using the same data that's factual, but for a different purpose. And if I'm working on this, I don't have to care about how this person is building the map. This is the magic of event sourcing and event modeling, is that I've decoupled the effort to make this part from the report that someone's writing. Maybe you're writing the report and I'm writing the driving route screen. You see how we're no longer stepping on each other's toes, because we know we can't argue with what's on disk. These things happen and we have to take them as facts.
Yeah.
I don't have to fight with you on a table design.
How do I get these events?
We're going to do that as in our example. We're going to basically start to read events from left to right in terms of history. So we'll probably have like a sequence number, or we can use the date of the file write to order them. And we're going to check if it's an event that we care about. For example, our delivery efficiency report will only have 2 event types that it looks for, whereas our driving screen will look for 3, right? And that's where we can see that we can write both of these pieces of our system independently, yet they are coordinated by a set of facts on disk that are not mutable, that are not going to end up in an argument between us because we both have to take it as fact.
But I still can't wrap my head. So
we can see, and we can start to develop this. I mean, this is probably enough to make a little application.
Okay. Then let's do this. One second. So one LinkedIn user, I don't know why it doesn't show the name, but one LinkedIn user heard about balsamic as well.
Balsamic? Oh yeah. Shout out to the old school people.
And also had 2 pretty long comments. I frequently use traceables, but not completely happy path. That would violate my basic code verification standards. Even on a traceable path, there are possible errors and exception conditions. Happy path functional tests first, of course.
Yeah, so this is about getting the system to be more fully specified, because there's a lot of things we haven't answered here. Obviously, what happens when the truck breaks down? What happens when the driver gets exhausted or has to have a washroom break, or is on their lunch break, or what if the customer is correcting their address because they made a typo and they're realizing today that, oh no, it's my shipment's here coming today, but I mistyped my address and they're going to 5th Avenue, not 3rd Avenue. They're going to be very disappointed. What happens? Is my phone number there? So the driver arrives and they can't get a hold of me so I come downstairs to pick up my package. We have a lot of unhappy paths or alternate routes which we can do. And so, this is requirements as work processes. So, what Ed's talking about, we've gone through all of what Ed is talking about here. And so we've done incredibly complex systems, and the event models are huge. The largest one that I've made to date is an online financial application for a company called Line Data, which does at the time it did something like 5 to 10% of the world's trading traffic for large firms like Fortune 50 companies like Reebok and Procter and Gamble. And they had a big problem with migrating their Windows based software to be online software. And they were doing a third attempt or something like that at a rewrite, and they're hitting a roadblock with some of how these requirements are being done. And it was just a big problem of understanding how complex it is. We had probably like 30 different swim lanes for all the different types of events from all the different systems. With the New York Stock Exchange, really large APIs, for example, or stock orders for the New York Stock Exchange have something in some cases that those APIs take like 300 parameters. It's ridiculous. It's incredibly complex. But event modeling makes it so clear, where you dissect all of these complex things into small digestible steps, almost as if you're debugging step by step. You just pause on that line, but it's for everyone to understand, not just the developer. And by having state as something that's concrete, either on the file system or an event database or a table in a regular database that contains those events, we can look and say, did this happen? You can always go back and retrace how you got there. Moreover, these alternate workflows that it's talking about, below one of these, for example, like below the current route status, I can build up a set of examples, like what it shows behind me. Like my event model behind me has a whole bunch of green boxes with a whole bunch of yellow boxes beside them. That's basically showing how the map changes over time through many different things. In there, I could throw a lunch break, a washroom break, a truck breaking down, etc., without distracting from the overall goal of the main story. Yes, I'd like to do that. And maybe if there's some more complex logic where I actually have to show different screens, like how did your truck break down? Does the driver have a call this emergency vehicle screen on their app? Well, then I would make another section of the event model, and I put a red line there, and I would draw an arrow and say, like, hey, if the truck breaks down during this route, go look at this event model down here that basically would be inserted at that point if we needed to. And for that large financial system, that was a very important piece, because with such large trading transactions, such as what these Fortune 50 companies are doing with millions and millions of investments that they have, they don't just buy a stock because they would move the market on themselves. They would have change the price on themselves if they're ordering 1 million shares of something. So they would have to do it in waves, like buy some more today, buy some more today, check if the price is low enough to accumulate some more. And then, of course, balance them, buy some more from this sector versus this sector, depending on the prices that day as well. So there was a changing dynamics of what you're buying per day, and then also over how many days. Now, if there's some huge event, such as a market crash or something political, they would have to stop the trade and back out of it. But there's no undo button for financial things that you already did, right? Just like the bank account example. So there was a drawing on the event model of a red line. If there's this condition, go look at how you do the unhappy path, which is backing out of your initiated giant basket trade. And so for incredibly complex systems, this works specifically well, because in large systems, it's even easier to get lost in traditional diagrams, especially when they're not time-based, or if they're too low level, such as sequence diagrams in UML. They just have too much stuff going on for everyone to participate. But if you just focus on state and leave it at that level, then you actually can talk to more people, and more people can understand even how a really large system works.
Yeah, so that's what Dominic is saying, basically, that this is a great way to share knowledge, to communicate within.
I refuse to work any other way. I don't want to work on any project that doesn't have event sourcing and event modeling. And I've made that a statement for my whole company, and built the whole company on doing that, and also getting some other guarantees. Because notice how when I'm working on the delivery efficiency report and you're working on the current route status, or vice versa, that we're independent. And that means this, in effect, solves the hockey stick curve of increasing costs as complexity goes up. Because no matter how many features I add, it's still the same complexity. I'm not trying to make one abstraction serve 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then even more things. If I had like some idea of what is a route, and the route is used for the delivery report, and the route is used for the map, and the route is used for something else. Notice the coupling? Now 3 people working on those things would have to coordinate on that one abstraction. With this way, we have separate, we're repeating a lot of the code, but I don't care because it decouples our efforts. And
but you're still using
Sorry, one more thing. It's like if you have people sell the idea of an abstraction being incredibly powerful because you can solve a problem in one place and it fixes 3 places, and they never talk about the converse. There's a problem with that one abstraction. It breaks 3 places. It's very easy to make bugs in software, and so you don't want to do that. You're going to get hurt more than you're going to get saved by reusing an abstraction. And so when you have 3 separate items here, current status route and the delivery efficiency report, and maybe one more other thing, and they're repeating a lot of the same code, that's a good thing. It's not bad. It's actually a very good thing for realistic projects that have to coordinate human effort in doing all these.
Yeah. So I think that's an art in itself to find the right area where to abstract and whatnot. And most of the time you get it wrong.
Our default is don't abstract anything. Let the information talk for itself. So we have a very adverse reaction to someone trying to be fancy and make a base class and make, I'm going to make this class and it's going to inherit from this. And it's like, no, we have 0 of that. We never want to touch that again. And it goes against everything that everyone's been ever taught in computer science classes and in university and other places. So we're definitely past that. We want to treat software systems and information systems like accountants treat money. And an accountant won't need to do some weird abstractions. They just go over a ledger and they make a different report. They're not making weird abstractions. They have a specific projection for each purpose. And that's exactly how we want to treat our systems, because these things decouple, and we can continue to deliver for a fixed price. So my main point, sorry, getting a little bit long here in the explanation, is that we could deliver fixed cost projects because we're going to say that we can charge the same price for each of these steps. Each unique green box, we can charge the same price. No matter how many features you add to the system, it could be 1,000. We're never going to change the price. And so that removed the entire necessity to have a by the hour billing, because we could just say, hey, this system has 200 different types of blue and green boxes, and therefore here is your price for it. If you want more, it'll just scale exactly to how much more you want.
I heard that from you before. I heard some kind of talk where you said that as well, and I didn't quite understand that, because if you have a different screen, you have to implement that screen at some point, be it at mobile, web, anywhere in an application.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If we're going to have multiple different projections for, if you want to have support your web and your app and maybe an email automated system in the back, you're going to have to count that into like your base cost per slice. If I'm going to have a presence on the web and an app and some reports, and maybe there's some bespoke ones, we would maybe count that as an extra slice for those if there's some complexity. But if the app and the web are kind of similar, we'll say, well, it's a multiplier of 1.5, and we'll shake hands on it and go from there. But we want to have the features to be the same price from then on forever, right? We don't want that increasing exponential cost for adding more features. To have more projections, more reports, more information displayed to the user, or more forms being presented to them. Each of those should have a consistent unit of work value, and I think that's missing in the software industry. We have it in other engineering disciplines in the world, where you ask someone to build a brick wall, and they say, well, how long is the wall? This is the price, and they're not going to charge you more because they need that many bricks and that many hours to do it. I'm not saying that it's as simple as building brick walls, but in essence, more of mature engineering practices have that guarantee of kind of limiting the costs, whereas in software we're notoriously running over budget and over time.
Right.
Yeah,
that's true. But like, if you, for example, you have a dashboard and you display a lot of different data, and you have to calculate all that data, you probably then have a lot of these green post-it notes, right?
Yes. Yeah,
and that's why it's getting more expensive than a regular view.
It's not really, because what we do, for example, if you have a dashboard and one of those items is a delivery efficiency report, what you would actually have is this could be so I'm just writing something on the side here where, we could have both of these. Or is it, maybe have this? Oh, this is a horrible thing here, but. I don't know what that is. Okay, that's some weird thing that Miro has, but let's say that's just part of that. And then, I don't know if we have a little graph. Search shapes graph. Where are you finding these emojis?
All the way at the bottom.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Let's get rid of this ugly one. Oh, please get rid of this table view. I never liked the table view in. Get away from it.
I got it.
No, I don't want it. I hate it. It's always okay. So this is your dashboard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about? This kind of idea?
Yep. Just in the sense of this would be more. This is a lot of work to implement. And you said you always charge the same price for like a green square. But at this area, you have multiple green squares, multiple views, and that's why it's getting more expensive. Maybe.
Well, yeah, exactly. So you can say that this is costing me 2 slices for one screen because I have 2 green boxes.
Right.
That's
okay. Why. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, if you have another, this is a realistic example. For a dashboard, you usually have simplified views that are overviews without detail. But a lot of, oh my goodness, why can't I grab that? What is going on? Are you on that one? Oh, maybe you're touching that one. Okay. It's another thing that I don't like about this is if you, is it locked? Oh, long press to unlock. There we go. Okay. Sometimes they get locked. So yeah, if you have like an overview and then like you want to and you want to have like a click through to a detail.
Oh yeah.
View. I don't hesitate on making these a separate thing. Something like that. So, oops. Trying to be too helpful. Now, of course, these may come from exactly the same events. Maybe the detailed view has a few extras thrown in there.
Yeah.
But this is a very typical thing, and that would cost 1, 2, 3 units of work in this project. And
okay.
The people that would work on this, they work in slices, vertical slices. So someone would get paid for all of this. And because this shares a screen, you can have two developers working on the same screen at once. Now, obviously, you do end up having some coordination with each other, but that goes in accordance to how well abstracted your UI is, right? Like if you have a really good, React componentized layout, then it should be no problem for two people to drop their own widgets into that same screen. Right?
Yeah, okay. All right. So we have some more questions or comments. So Morten says, when a command runs through a set of rules or policies, how do you model when different outcomes branches out into different flows?
Yeah, we covered that a little bit. So yeah, we do. That's basically, what happens. I mean, we showed that already here at the beginning where we're trying to show that a start order can't happen if you don't have a verified email. Someone goes back and verifies their email. I didn't provide the screens for that, but at the end of whatever that is, there is an event called emailed verified, and now the order goes through. So that's one way to specify it. The other way is all the permutations of data. That's usually done like what's behind me in those vertical stacks of like, okay, if this is the history, can I do this? No, yes. With the blue, red, and yellow stacks, that's a story. I'm actually redoing the format of that storyline that goes vertically down to make it more natural. Whereas like these events happen, then I try to do this, and then I expect this event or this error, and I continue on with a few more things happening in the system as events, and I try to press the button again, and then this happens. You could do that for, if you're testing like a add item to order, you could have many, many different scenarios thrown in there. But the important thing is that it's always by example. So even though the main story is going across the top, when I look at that add item to order piece, I can start to drill into some pretty exotic little side quests, if you will, and show exactly what's going on. And the beautiful thing is that I'm not sure if you saw my video from a year and a half ago where I dropped in exactly what's behind me here, and the AI got the implementation, the tests on the first try. It was magical. Yeah, that's when I knew that AI was going to move this. Well, this was going to help AI and vice versa, because they talk the same language. And so, people were complaining about hallucinations and like, 95% of people have no value from AI. I'm like, well, they're just holding it wrong. Honestly, if you have something that behaves like a human and you're specifying things in a story-like manner, AI is incredibly good. So I not only did it get all the tests it created all the tests that were represented graphically as implementation, but it also threw in an extra test that I missed. It was, I believe it was renaming, or was removing something from a collection. I think it was this thing here is about a conference organization thing. So if you add or delete rooms or something like that when you're creating the conference, or you're renaming a room, I think it was renaming a room. I missed the unit test for asserting that the old name doesn't exist in the collection. It added that. So it actually hallucinated positively. Hallucination was actually made my system better. And not just by throwing abstract implementation or irrelevant implementation. It actually provided the test to show what I was missing from doing this step and making sure that it's well specified. And of course, it had the implementation to throw an error, if there was the same name was still found in the collection. So
now I'm really excited about this.
Yes.
So, but we have to.
That video?
No. Oh, sorry, I have not.
It's about 2 minutes. It's very short.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But we'll find out ourselves now. So Ed just hates on abstractions again. But
abstractions are always leaky because abstractions by default have to be reused by other purposes. That's the idea of an abstraction, and so you can't make everyone happy all the time. So it's always a compromise. So if you try to make a base class, no matter how good your intentions are, not just because that you may be wrong about how you do your job, but the fact that business is fluid, that you can be only right. You can only be right for an instant in time, because the minute that you have it in production and it's shipped, the next day the requirements and interpretations have already changed. The business is already mentally, at least, working in a different way. So it's actually better to have all the different projections sitting there. Don't fix it if it ain't broke. I challenged people to actually write large maintainable systems without unit tests. How can you do a large system without a safety net of unit tests? I would never dare to do that before this, but now I do it all the time, because I know I'm never going to touch this code. I know that green box for that particular report. If there's no code churn there, why would I need to ever test that again?
Okay, I didn't quite get that. So you're saying you don't code at all anymore. You just write the event model, give it to AI, and it implements that.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I don't write tests necessarily for everything, because if I know that if I tested something manually, I just vibe coded one particular slice here. Let's say it was that report, that delivery report, but I never touch it again. Why would I run the unit tests for it over and over again in my CI/CD? I don't need to. There's no code churn there. It's guaranteed to continue to work. The other reason that it is guaranteed to work is that all the things, the blue boxes and green boxes, are pure functions always. So if there's any external thing, such as location of the van or whatever, when we implement what handles the blue box, we never ever have an external call. They're all pure functions. They're all like math. You cannot, whatever dependency you think you may have, like go look up the location of the truck. Nuh-uh. You push that up as a parameter, and you get what's calling that command or issuing that command to first get that data and put it in as a parameter. That makes it a mathematical function. It's a pure function then. There's nothing that's undeterministic within how that blue box works. Same with the green boxes. So once you have everything working this way, they can never break, because they're never at the whim of external calls.
Okay. Let's get into coding, because I
can
still
show you how that is. I can show you.
Okay.
So I'll let you basically try, and then I'll say, this is the tweak you need to make it perfect.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't say perfect, but at least guarantee that it's a pure function that you can depend on, and that if you have no unit tests for it, you're still okay, as long as there's no flux, no change of code at all in that function ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you need to test that again?
Yeah.
You only retest because the code underneath is changing. And this is the whole fallacy of TDD. No one dives into this topic at all. And I've been a TDD expert for many years, so this is coming out the other end of that TDD pipeline. I've learned where it stops being productive, and this is way past what you get with TDD.
All right.
Yeah. Hard sell, I know, but we'll get there with examples.
Yeah, but let's see. So I created a little repository that's public, event modeling demo, and there's nothing in it except for the README.
Right.
So do we download this Miro board?
No, but you can export it. So you can represent this in JSON. Or you can actually, what you can do is you can take a screenshot and you can upload the screenshot.
But this is already...
So I wouldn't do the whole thing because you can't read it, right? So you can probably export it as a PNG. I think in the top right, you can export this as a PNG.
There's something...
The upload thing. Save as PDF. You can save as PDF or...
Export as PDF.
Export as image. I think that works.
Okay.
Oh, I have to upload. Oh, it's small. So I wonder if it just has to be legible. So if everything's too small, it might not be legible.
Oh, yeah.
AI can read the letters and numbers in it. Oh. Okay, you have to have everything on the screen. So yeah, you might as well just take a screenshot at this point, honestly. If you have a high-resolution screen where you can read everything.
This is the screenshot it exported. That's bad.
I mean, you could assume that Claude Code knows what event sourcing is, and it knows what event modeling is. There's fair enough. I mean, we could try and one-shot this whole thing and see where it goes wrong. Do you want to try that? Just go for gold.
Sure, but we need to export it. So you're saying a screenshot.
Just grab what's on there.
Okay. So I'm just moving this to my bigger monitor.
Yeah,
because
so
then I get better
resolution so that you can actually read the what's written in each box.
Yeah, still the right one.
Let's see if by default Claude has evolved to be superhuman now and can understand.
Okay, so I got this screenshot, and
yeah,
you kind of make.
So if you save it locally, I don't think you have to do anything else. You don't need to. Yep. Just let's try. Let's just see where it goes, and then upload that image to Claude.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Because I did this in Cursor, like I said, that video. I mean, we can play that video if you want. I can find it for you very quick. It's a fun video.
Okay, so I added this screenshot here. That's all I did now. And
you need a prompt, right?
Right. And I have Claude Code running in my Docker sandbox. And I already typed in create a hello world with Vaadin and Spring Boot. But I don't know if
that was just for, well, let's just test if you can. We didn't get to that before we started streaming.
Yeah, shall we execute that?
Works. Nah, just see what it makes.
With that prompt?
Why not?
Yeah, okay.
Just test whether it can actually make something that runs and works.
Yeah, so the tech stack, why is this not showing anymore? The tech stack should be Java, Spring Boot, Vaadin. We left out PostgreSQL for now. If I look at the time, I don't think we can make it today, but that's fine. We just have we just have to find a way to store
an
something.
Hour and a half. I mean, this AI stuff doesn't take too long. I mean, I want to show you this video because this is on really old LLMs, and just to show you that this is not a feature of the large language model being modern and good. This was done on a very old model well over a year ago, a year and a half ago at least. And it got it so right because it's all about the quality of the spec, not about the quality of your large language model. So I will find it for you. I'm not sure if we can play a YouTube video on the stream. If I give you the link, do you think that could work?
I honestly don't know if the screen sharing also shares the sound, but we'll
gotta go. It's only a 2-minute video, so it's not very long. We don't have to. If it doesn't work, whatever. We can drop a link for people.
Send the link in the chat.
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now. I always forget where I put it. Martin's been doing so many videos that now when I look for event modeling, I can't find my own stuff. He's been doing so much work. It's amazing. So yeah, if you look at Martin Dilger's posts, they're excellent because he's done quite a bit.
Okay, I can still go through the comments. So it says, yeah, we don't need multiple devs for these with AI. So
no, you don't. I mean, Martin basically gets the Ralph loop going overnight, and after an event model, he wakes up and it's already, the whole thing's built. Yeah,
pretty cool.
It is very, very cool.
Abstractions are good, yeah, but only if you have actually found the right ones. Exactly. Folks jump on the wrong ones too soon. Yeah. I mean, if you start coding, you always take assumptions of what's good to abstract, and most of the time you get it wrong, I think.
You know what? I got the video link. We are in luck.
Okay. One user, again, I don't know why it doesn't show it. Is it a good idea to model pure CLI applications with event modeling? For example, a Docker Compose style CLI tool that controls the Docker daemon.
Oh, so things that are highly technical. It's up to you. I honestly leave event modeling for the business-facing applications. But it does work to a certain extent for other more technical or utility stuff. So yeah, it's oh, we found it. You got lots of oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, I like the German commercials. Let's see what happens. Can anyone hear that? I can't hear it for some reason.
Yeah, I think it's really not very loud as well.
Is there there must be like a setting on StreamYard to turn on your desktop audio under your audio.
Doesn't see that. Yeah, I don't see that. Sorry.
Huh. StreamYard. Okay. I'll ask AI.
I mean, we can switch on subtitles.
Oh, no, it says it does.
Yeah, maybe somebody in the chat could write if they hear it, but I don't think anybody can hear it, honestly.
I can't hear it.
Yeah.
Oh, but you must share it via a specific browser tab. That's what it says. So you have to share a specific browser tab. So instead of sharing your screen, you can share the browser tab, and that'll work. So stop sharing your screen and then share browser tab, and then pick the YouTube video, and it should work. That's kind of like a pivotal moment in this whole thing. Is I saw that AI became 100 times better instantly when I realized that even a picture of a part of an event model got me the perfect implementation. Even such a long time ago. That
okay.
And I think it's a very relevant video for our subject matter. Oh yeah, so just rewind it to the beginning and see if you can turn up the volume.
Can you hear it?
I can't hear it.
Yeah.
That's bizarre. Do you have it muted, that tab? Can you hear it on your own desktop?
Yeah, I hear it.
Huh.
But you basically just say what you already told us. So you inserted an image, and now this is all generated.
Yeah. And the tests are right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was floored because it understood from the graphical representation of the given wendens on a timeline graphically, with just the boxes showing what data was in each event, and all that. It took that image, and it got the exact code right. That was just crazy.
Yeah. Pretty scary. All right.
Yeah, that's very scary for developers back then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that video is, it's insane because, yeah.
1 year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I forget the exact date. If you expanded,
It's
like November
or
something, right?
Yeah. November 2024.
2024. Shouldn't that be 2024?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a long time ago in terms of large language model maturity, and it got it perfect, right? Like you saw, that was every single unit test. There's quite a few of them, and an extra one, and the actual implementation, the actual application working with the screens. Yeah. So let's try it.
Okay.
We should be way better. A year and a half now is like a millennium in AI, right? So.
Yeah.
So can we run that hello world just to see if it works?
Yeah. So can we just do this? Probably. Take out your headphones. Sorry. There's a comment from Ed. Take out your headphones. But then
I'm not sure if that would matter. I think it should share desktop audio.
Yeah.
Automatically. So I usually stream through OBS because I can control everything through there. So I just have OBS running in the background.
Okay, so this will run at some point at least, and I think I have to open up that port because it's running in a Docker sandbox.
Yep.
So
that's harder to test.
Yeah, but it should work like this, and so I can call this one, and it says
there it is. Okay, so now I can just add another prompt, drop in that picture.
Yeah.
And say, give me an event-sourced version of this application as shown in this event model. Yeah, use a file system to store events.
Now I just have to put that in somehow.
Can you just have it on image URL or something and then drop the link?
I thought I can just copy and paste it here. But
you need a URL for it to like be able to find it.
But then we just use.
Oh, you can just paste it in there. Okay, so just call it screenshot. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Jitterbugging. Okay.
Oh, this is very exciting. I mean, it's the amount of progress that's happened with event modeling and event sourcing together. It should be an incredible amount of progress in the next year. Like I don't see many people doing manual coding at all. I mean, I'm almost always just looking at the code and asking, either reading it myself or asking it to give me an explanation of some guarantees that it does or does not have what I'm looking for. And I'm detaching myself slowly from the coding, but I'm keeping myself more and more attached to state, which is what event modeling and event sourcing does. So the artifacts, the events on disk are very human friendly. And you could say, audit the events. Did this happen in the right order? Audit the events for whatever. I mean, Martin even has a thing with AI that says, talk to your event model. And you can ask it, does this system do this? How can I do this? In which part of the event model is this shown? It's amazing what you can do.
Okay.
You know what's better than working software is an event model, because with working software, you have to step through it manually to actually get to the part and see where it's working or not working. With an event model, you see the whole thing and you can say, that's a problem. Just imagine making a movie without a storyboard, going through the reel of the actual movie to get to the right part. That's why storyboard is there, so everyone can see with full context of, I'm talking about this part here, and you know exactly where to, what context it's in, what your problem is with it, how you're going to fix it, what it impacts. If you're working with just the software and the code, you are so limited. You have to go execute stuff. You have to go execute tests. You have to do all sorts of things. With an event model, you're looking at that storyboard for the movie, and you can find exactly what you want. So I would say that an event model is more valuable than the working software for when you're building the system. Sure, the users can't use an event model. Absolutely. They need the system to work. But for the purpose of building the software itself, the event model is way more useful than the actual software itself at that point.
But I wonder...
Because I can look at this. I can just discuss the delivery stuff with you right there. I don't have to spin up NVM. I don't have to wait for it to work. I don't have to press a whole bunch of buttons or forget, remember which scenario database backup I have to restore to get to the point where I can show you this truck working. I can just show you here. This is how the truck delivery stuff works, and you'll know it. And we saved ourselves 10 minutes of setup and clicking through the actual application.
But one thing is, like, your background, it looks very complicated, very big. So you have to kind of group it or something,
bottom
right?
Things. The top part. See, I'm blocking out these things.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Don't ever look at that. You could just shrink that stuff here, because this is the system. Do you want me to show you that system? I can share the screen for that.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Let me open this up.
And I think now I'm using Copilot, because last time I used Claude again, I had some problems, and I'm not sure why, but it has some problems. So I will copy that prompt over to Copilot. But you can share your screen well.
Okay, I'm just getting the project loaded up so I can show you. I can show you that it's not complicated at all. When you actually just look at the the screens, you can start there, understand exactly what's going on. I'll show you the different parts of the event model and how you go top down, drill into what we're doing. We haven't added everything that's in an event model. A lot of it helps you to do stuff. Let me just see if I can get to this and then share screen. Share screen.
Okay, so now Copilot is doing things. I don't know, something is...
Okay, well, while we're waiting for that, why don't I show you this?
Yeah. Share your screen. And
do you see this?
Now I do.
Okay.
It's very small.
Okay, I'm going to make it even smaller for now, just to zoom out. Just so you can see the complete picture, okay? So this is an application that allows you to make a conference and run a little conference where people vote for their own subjects to talk about. Like unconference, you've been to those, right? Unconference?
Yeah.
Where everyone suggests what they want to talk and discuss.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, you can't see anything from this point, and that's important because event modeling tooling should blow up the font of the things at the top so you can still read them while this other stuff shrinks. But anyway, that's in the tooling that we're building. So what do we do? Well, we call it open spaces. These unconferences are called open spaces, right? So we have the setup where we say, oh, we need to name the conference. Okay, well, that's pretty easy. What do you want to call your open space? I'm going to call it EM open spaces. And I set the name. I have a command, and there's the name that is set with the data, right? Okay, and then what do you want? Then it says congratulations. You can click continue. Now, why is that going from back? Oh, yeah. So this goes back because we want to change the name. Again, if you want, forward goes back to the same thing. I forget what I was doing here. I was trying to show something. But anyway, it's only doing this projection of what the current name is, which is very easy to do. It shows the current name there. And this is a whole slice, and I did it, and it's finished. This is called the naming workflow, and it's part of the setup. Now I can set the dates. I can add the rooms. Okay, how do I set the dates? I can put in the start and the end date. I can set the dates. Very easy. It's cruddy, very CRUD-like application, but at least I see what's going on. This is very similar to a wireframe. This is very similar to Balsamiq, right? Like what I was talking about before. It's not the actual styled CSS styled UI, but I know what's going on, right? I can always understand the information moving through these screens. I can have them styled differently if a designer works on them. But this will work, right? So it says congratulations, right? We can add rooms. We can add the time slots, right? It's a little more complicated. We can add time slots here. We can start to say start and intro and keep going, right? Then the important part, so notice that this was all done by Joe, the organizer, right? And then finally, when we do the time slots and all that, we need to set up a sign up URL. So Joe can at the conference show the QR code, and the attendees can scan it and start using the system, right? So we need a unique identifier because we don't want other conferences to be interfering with ours. So this is an example of a processor which is done. How do automatic processes get done in event modeling? Well, it's just like a user, but it's a gear. There's no screen. And so it has a whole bunch of things here. Again, this is about, we'll dive into this. This is all the alternate workflows, right, that we're talking about. But for the most intents and purposes, we have this unique ID generator that spits out this URL so that they can show that to whoever is scanning things, right? And someone goes in and looks at a number that doesn't exist. Okay, conference doesn't exist, but then they scan the QR code and they say, hey, welcome to this, right? And then they can say, hey, I'm registering. My name's Adam. Thank you for registering, right? This person here the organizer can then close the registration, right? Meanwhile, we can continue. Another person registers with Alice. Then they start to suggest their topics, right? So facilitation, Adam's just doing a suggestion. The topic is generating event models from meeting transcripts using GPT-4o. Submit the topic, right? And over here, we are talking about topic suggestion, right? Here we have participation, registration, setup, sign up URL. All of these things are described up here, what's going on. Voting for topics, schedule creation, and that's it. Once you got the schedule done, you're pretty much done with the whole thing, and you can do your conference. So if you look at the top part, pretty easy, just wireframes, right? If I just look at this, it tells me what's happening, right? I can see the workflow names. I can see what people see on their screens. I can understand what's going on. If I want to develop it, well, I can kind of see like, hey, what's the data that's flowing through the system? Okay, these yellow things is what it's storing along the way, right? If I go one by one, and then, well, what happens when there's some exceptions and so weird stuff happening? Well, let's look at that timeline, right? So I can do some happy path elaboration where I can say register, unique ID requested. I have to have a request to generate one. I kind of overcomplicated this on purpose to illustrate a point of how automation was going to happen, right? What about the processors and the idempotent? Another timeline to show that as these events happen, this is what that green box will show. Right over here, if the processor tries to do something, there's no request. And finally, there's some other history that happens. And then finally, it can provide that ID. Then it provides it. So there's a request in its history, so it can provide something. And then another one. And we can put labels in here. And in fact, we see this in the actual code. So I structure my code to kind of look at these slices the same way. So here's the timeline, registration closed, what happens when you're already registered closed. Again, another sample timeline of what happens when people try and do different shenanigans. And registration is already closed. Okay, we have this error, right? Okay, created, closed, someone still tries to register, you get an error. Okay, makes sense? I don't have to complicate this part to show that, oh, they got a bunch of errors when they try to register in a closed registration, right?
But still, this is a pretty basic application, right? It's not like an enterprise application, and
it could be scaled to work for every conference all over the world at the same time.
But is there any mechanism to group those workflows?
Yes. Well, this is the workflow grouping here, right? The top part. So this
okay, so these slices, you group these slices. One green square is a slice for you, right?
Yeah, and the anchor for those are the unique green boxes and the unique blue boxes. Everything else is incidental cost.
Okay.
Yeah, everything so that's why I include the screen as part of this, right? So I have to do this projection and I have to make the screen to show the QR code. And then when I'm done, I'm done. I usually have that in my own branch, and I allow AI to merge it, or I merge it myself. It doesn't matter. But they're very independent, and like they only get coupled using these pieces, right? So what's interesting is that the code can resemble these structures too, right? Since we're running low on time, I might as well just show you that because it's kind of fun. Let me just go to the files here. And if I look at I slammed everything into one giant app.js. So there's a bunch of bootstrap code, which doesn't change for anything. But the interesting part is when we go down to each individual slice.
So Adam, I really can't read any of this.
What's that?
I really can't read any of this. This is too small. Yeah, this is good. Good for me. Okay.
So time slots view, for example, right? We have a slice that's called time slot state view. It's an output, so it's a green box. There's the path for the URL, a view that it uses. So I actually have views in a separate here. There's a view here, so I can, show that working. And anyway, that's it. There's a more complex one here. Let's see, generate conference ID request. So it has to see the previous events that happened. And this one just flips the state from true to false, depending on what it finds in history. I upfront tell it what exceptions it can throw. The request already exists, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my tests. And the tests are not, they're basically expressed as timelines, where I have here's the happy path. I check that the request ID should not be added when requested. I have no parameters. I have this in the history. Here's an exception. If I have this is a really silly one because this requests don't have any data. There's probably better ones down further. Let me see here. Join conference. I'm just looking for something more fun. Registration, right? There's the refinement function. So this one is, registers, initial state. So this is output. It shows what registrations already exist. The refinement function is really just the projection. I have to rename these. I don't like the names that I gave these. This should be the projection. Sorry, this should be the projection here. This should be the filtration, I guess, or processing or something else like that. I call it the refinement function. It's what you do after you project your events. Like either you accept a command or you show a green box, right? That's the kind of thing that goes in. But you can see that it's slice after slice after slice. Same structure over and over again. Event handlers. The bootstrap thing reads these snippets and coordinates them for you. And all you're focusing on is the business logic. What do I do? Initial state, what's the conference ID, the name, right? What's the names? There's the names. Because that's catching all the registered people, right? There's the name of the person, right? Mm-hmm. There's some exceptions that can be thrown. Registration closed, you're already registered, conference not found, right? Does that make sense? So
it still looks too easy. So
believe me, the largest things on the planet, they follow this pattern. As long as you can decompose things to simple working parts, you can layer on other things. Like let's say you need to layer in more role-based access. There's a place for that you can put in here that will do that. And these tests will still pretty much be the same because you're just looking, no matter how large the enterprise is, you're still looking at an if statement. Is this person registered or not? It doesn't matter how large your enterprise is. You're still looking for that fact. Are they allowed to do this or are they not? So yes, it's simplistic, but then again, why should large things not be made of small, simple things? It always does that for me anyway. So I just wanted to show you that as a quick cheat code for like what your implementation could be. I had a different implementation for this, but I decided to make sure that the slices themselves are contained as objects with behavior hanging off of properties, because you can go to the event model and see exactly what that is in these specific places, right? So if I go back to to this here, that code is really like, hey, how is it handling these different events that happened? Well, going back to here, I can see that these this is registration, so I think it's further down here. Yeah, submit session, right? So submitting sessions, that's this thing here. Oh, that's adding rooms, sorry. Submitting sessions is over here or further down. All right, submitting sessions is this guy here, right? So submit topic, right? Topic submitted. That is essentially what we have here, right? Submit session, da-da-da. It's a URL, and our business logic is all in here. Our state, like, hey, what state are we in? Can we actually do any of this stuff here? We have to make sure that our initial state, well, all we care about is what topics are in there before. And the only exception we're throwing is that this topic has already been submitted. Pretty easy, right? So we iterate over all the past events, handle each one, build up this idea of what our world is like according to the history. And then here we can basically, use that. The reason I have a state function, not the state, is sometimes you don't need previous states. For example, canceling an order and you don't care what happened ever. You're just always going to accept a cancel order. You don't need to project anything. So you should be able to accept that. And so if I do this as a state function instead of a state object, means I never call it. I don't incur any penalty for reading files or doing anything, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all. Just an optimization. That's why it's kind of a bit, confusing, but it's not really. It's quite simple, and it's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. I can come back to an application we worked on 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, and we can write the next feature in the next minute because it follows the same pattern, the same style, always over and over and over again. There is no ramp up time to how things worked. And every time I want to see how something actually does work, we're going through here to this thing, not to the code. So I can go, oh man, how did that conference thing work? Oh, let's just go to the event model. Which part are they having a problem with? Oh yeah, here. Someone sent me a screenshot of an error happening here. Let's check this code here. Right? Done.
Yeah. Okay. So the AI is done. So yeah.
Okay.
Let's see this. So this is the running application now. Food delivery event source demo.
Oh, it actually worked?
Yeah, I don't know if it does anything, but
okay, click on something. Can you add a delivery? Is there any actions, or do you have to?
No, we can store a warehouse, right?
Oh, do that.
Let's do it.
Can you click on anything?
Events on disk. Okay, we have one more.
Well, let's look at that event. Can you look at the directory?
Yeah. So let's see. Where is it? Probably somewhere here.
It might be like an ignored directory because it's part of the artifact.
Data. Oh, that's
hey, look at that. You
did
event sourcing with one prompt. Congratulations. You learned event modeling and event sourcing with one picture and one prompt.
Yeah. So we did not specify anything how to show these warehouse, for example. So that's probably why it's not. Oh,
yeah, no, exactly. But look at that; it gave you some other things. So you could probably say, this is not. It's kind of trying to demo event sourcing itself. You say,
probably.
You could prompt it to say use event sourcing, but make it like it's invisible from me. Make it as a regular app for a user. So I don't want any dashboards for events or like commands or any of that crap. I want, I just want the actual application. So I think the problem with just this very generic prompt you gave is that it doesn't know whether you want to get an example of event sourcing so you can learn event sourcing, or whether you're actually making an an application, right?
It also has this README in the repository, and that's where I explain what we are doing in this session.
Oh, that's why. Okay, yeah, okay.
That's probably
if you didn't have that README in there, I'm sure it would actually come up with like, here's the app, and kind of like have that. Like in my application, I have like an events folder, and like it has like a convention 001 dash whatever, so it has a sequence number for each of those. And I'm telling you that this scales to the largest systems I've ever worked on. Event modeling was used for building the deepest mine in England, I think, or all of Europe. It was used for the logistics of building the mine, not even implementing any running system. It's crazy. It's got a lot of good applications that way.
All right. So, okay, I just want to get the cornerstones of this application. So we have the main view, which is the Vaadin view, which we saw. And we have a record that I like, and that's does display a stored event. And it doesn't matter what event, every event is a stored event. I think that's the same system you're using, right?
Yeah.
There's no differentiation between those. Maybe you filter on those.
I do. I mean, I'll share my screen again just to quickly show you. Just to give you my idea of like what a good starting place is mentally to kind of get through this. So entire screen. Where is it? Here, share. Okay. So if we go to we have our event stream right here. So if I look at that, I have the name you can see is zeros, like 4 zeros, conference name. I'm not using UIDs. I'm using just that. There's the set date. Sorry, let me just move this over a little bit so you can see. So there's the set dates. I added a convention of embedding some of the data into the file name so that I could just at a glance look at what the event actually contains. It's a helper. You can see room 2 was added. So at the top, there's the data and the name properties, because the name is the type of event, because I just want to iterate over files without looking at the file names. I want to generically look at it as well, even though I'm having very helpful event names, right? So I'm adding 3 rooms here, like that.
One second. Is every event one file?
Yeah. I can improve that later. I can make that into what Git does, like you said. I can make pack files of events. Usually with event stores that are file-based, you would have a chunk file, which would be like 250 megabytes or 500 megabytes.
Yeah.
And you would just have an index to like wherever it starts and ends, and that's fine. That's just an optimization. It would change nothing about my application. It would just change some of the infrastructure. It would work exactly the same. It wouldn't make a difference.
But what's your default productive event store? Is it the file system, JSON file?
I love the file system. I actually want to. There's so much that we don't take ownership of in writing software. With event sourcing, because we actually simplify what is happening with storage, we could own indexing ourselves. It's not a complicated thing to do. And I think, especially with AI, the type of indexing that we have, especially for information that is immutable ledger that's ever growing, that's a very different kind of index, or you get way more benefits to maintain indexes based on that type of information change. So, for example, how can I quickly just get the events based on the room name, for example, or like the end time? What if I always wanted to see things, sessions that start after lunch for all the events and all my clients? Weird things like that. You can just create them. Sort of like, we start to look at the elk stack and why they are built the way they are, but why don't you make the same idea, but that's focused on your business purposes and not be at the whim of buying licenses for databases, etc. And Git's a good example because it's very simple. The strength of Git is in the convention, right? Like it's just those files, they have a referential integrity, how you go back in history. Well, the same thing here. We can actually, if we really care about our data, we won't lose data. We won't overwrite stuff. We'll have a good convention where we are totally free to scale to whatever size we want without giving control to vendors to do that. Which is, the further you can go with that, the better, right? You are way more in charge of your future, the less you have to hand over to someone else. And AI is making that cheaper and cheaper by the month. So whether it's ideas or implementations.
I think I'm still missing something, because like if you have thousands or millions of events, you don't want to look at through all of those, even with an index, right? You need to have some
So a lot of things, just like, if you have a business and you have a filing cabinet, at the end of the year, you kind of put everything in the filing cabinet into storage and you start a new filing cabinet, right? If you're doing taxes, you're not looking at your history for the last 10 years. You're doing it just for the last year. So that's called closing the books, and you can do that with any system. So will I have to look through old closed conferences for the system to run? No. I might have an archival system that does it, sure, for other purposes, but to keep my system running, you're right, absolutely. Why would I keep anything that's already closed in something that's accessible? So these files can be moved to cold storage, and you can virtualize those paths to be off on another server that's slow and cheap, and have all of this stuff that's live to be ready, hot, active, and even have in-memory caching, and it's instantaneous, right? So those functions that I showed you, you can start to have caching based on signature. And one of the reasons that I showed you that and said that these functions are state, let's go back to that implementation, because these are all functions that don't call out to anything external, right? This thing can only use these. It's not making an external call, and it always will return state. This is a pure function. What you want for data to do something meaningful is stored in these objects only, and anything that you change is outputted through this only. That gives you the pure function of like guaranteeing that everything is always going to work the same way. So yeah, in terms of like fetching these events, at the top is that bootstrap code where it will get, it persists the events, it recalls events, so get events. There's an entire layer you can put in here that if you have the same function call signature with the same parameters, right, you could cache that. You can say any other time that any other page requests this, just return the same thing, because that's a pure function, right? So that's the beauty of the system, is that it gives you that ability to. Everyone dreams of these layered architectures where you can have all sorts of things, aspect-oriented programming type of stuff. It's like, it's for free with event sourcing. You very clearly see where you can put any type of layer for efficiency or anything else that you want to do, security or whatever it may be. And yeah, it's pretty simple. So for example, the result types can only be events, exceptions, or queries. Those blue box can have an event or an exception because you can reject a command or whatever. But the green box has to always return a query. There's nothing else. You have to handle exceptions, and the query has to contain the message. But this gives you, each slice can only have this result type, right? And here it's like unknown result type. You are screwed, man. You don't know what you're doing. Right? So, but this gives you the guardrails, and it's amazing when you put AI on top of this, because it's so, okay, look at this. If you have AI looking at this, where every single thing is done the same way, you will get tab completions for whatever you want. Any drawing that you throw in from an event model will immediately find its natural home in any of these things. AI just loves this. This is like this is the formula for zero hallucination, is predictable patterns of code predictable patterns for specifying. If I'm always showing my AI the same picture of this scenario of how this evolves over time, it's always going to give me that beautiful implementation of plunking in those Lego pieces to where they belong, right? So that's why it's so addictive, because now I can focus on the problems, the business problems, and creating the solution, and the menial, just boring coding, the tedious part of coding just disappears, which is so fun. All that kind of stuff, and of course, because you're not making a new pattern or a new technology for every different step. Now you're not diving around like you used to in Stack Overflow and all those things. So this was almost born out of frustration with having to deal with so many different frameworks and digging for stuff in Stack Overflow over the years. I wanted something more predictable that I could just go and say, okay, I know I can make this application in 10 days because it has 10 steps, and I can do a step at a day, and I can actually say with full confidence to my client that I can do this in that time because I have a predictable process. Whereas most software is not predictable. It doesn't have the structure. It's just, hey, do what you want, right? And you just have to realize that the predictability is valuable. The cadence is valuable. And I just want to show you how I wrote some little utilities there to just quickly go over those files. So I think I can do source. I think I can do that. And then if I do events, watch, it can show me all those. Okay. And then if I go NVM, use latest, okay, and then I go node. If I do that and do test, show me all the tests. Okay, so the tests still pass. Can you see all that?
Yeah, barely.
Barely? Okay. Control plus. Sorry, Control plus.
Yes,
there.
please. Okay.
Right. So I just did this this test pass here. So these are all those. In all those slices that you saw, those timelines, that's what it's doing, right? Tests are finished, test summary, test slice, name the conference, testing, happy path, right? Test pass, renames allowed multiple times, name should be changeable multiple times, renames not allowed if new name is the same as the old, exception is thrown if the conference name is not changed, right? So whatever you want to call it, all these things. No room should be returned when no events have occurred. No one room should be returned when blah, blah, blah. All of these things are done. And see, I have a little cake slice for the slice. Anyway. So I can run this NVM app run. I have some stuff that gives me all the URLs for all the different pages immediately.
Yeah.
So that's just something I threw in. But the important part is here, if I just remove the event stream, -rf, we should be back to normal. So state is now as if we are doing things from the start. None of these ones exist. And so if I run this, it's already running. So if I do as a set name, set conference name, if I do that, let me just increase the size of the font.
Yes, please.
Again. Sorry. So there's the conference name. But more importantly, if I do this, my little utility, which is written in Fish Shell, if I do this events watch, notice there's nothing there right now. But if I go here and I start to name, okay, let's name this. Let's say my conf, and I continue. It says, oh, congratulations, your event name is my conf. And so here, look at this. It's watching these come in. So in a production system, you'd see all sorts of things flying here. And you could grep it to filter out all sorts of things and whatnot, right? And continue.
Yeah, I was just wondering because there's no real need to log anything in here because you just log everything anyways in your store.
I can have really good default names. I have some JavaScript here says, hey, if there's nothing there, give me, add that.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it knows it's to do room 2, right? Room 3. And then we can say lobby, right? Add that. Okay, there they are. Done. You can continue on to the next one. Let's do session 1, session 2, session 3, session 4. That looks like lunch. Let's rename it to lunch. Let's add that. Okay, and so we have lunch, but now it picks up where it left off. Session 5, sure. Session 6, good. Okay, so we have all the sessions done. Okay, now we create the conference URL. Okay, someone scans it. Let's pretend they did. We have a new URL. Remember that conference ID is there. Now at the top, I have a setting that says use long IDs or short IDs. I use short IDs so it's easier to debug. That's why you have this ID conferences here. It would be a regular UUID that would be very long if I didn't have that parameter set.
Yeah.
So let's just pretend we're at attendee now. So that's as if I scanned the QR code. Welcome to my conf. Okay, I am here. My name is Adam, and I'm joining. Register, please. Okay, thank you for registering. Continue. Okay, there's no sessions, so I'm going to suggest another session. Facilitation, I want to present. Okay, and I want to present on AI and event modeling in 2026. Add topic. There it is. Okay, and then continue to voting. And I can vote if I'm interested in this. I can't vote on my own, but update my choices. I think I can. Okay, there. So there's my vote. As you can see, it's very easy to debug these things. You know exactly to where you got to. This is like pure magic for most things. And I can have a better, more detailed view. This is actually giving me the relevant information here. If I actually want to see the complete stuff in that, I can do the /all, and that'll give me the actual name of the actual file. It'll give me the data, the end time, and the actual name of the event, the type, right? Should actually be type, not name. It's the name of the type, name of the event type. So I don't know.
Yep.
I can change it, but so that's basically how easy it is to get these things to work. This is on GitHub, by the way. If you look at event modeling or organization, you can take this code and say, hey, tell your AI to describe how this thing works, and it'll tell you exactly where all the things are hidden. But they're not really hidden. It's really all just app.js. Everything's in there. The UI is a mustache stuff, which is here. Let me do that. So this type of format here.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So very, very easy to understand this as well.
It's like
and it's post get. It's not a single page app. It's just posts and gets. So very easy.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I love this fact that that's so easy to monitor.
Yep.
And even these utilities are super easy to write. I use fish shell, but in Bash it would be the same thing. So if I go to scripts here, if I look at the events utility, so I have scenarios, cat, watch. Actually, why do I not have watch? That should be in there. And so here's how I watch all those things. While true, it just does this and spits out anything new that it hasn't seen, and that's it. And then tab completions are easy, so I can tab complete, and when I'm tab completing here, you can see the suggestions. So if I press Control C and I go EV, that's abbreviations, but then I can tab complete to show event categories, show a list of available scenarios. Scenarios basically nukes your event history and copies a staged one. So if I want to get to the part where I already set up my conference and I'm about to register, I can do that, right? So if I go scenarios and I go tab, it'll give me like, okay, well, which one do I want? I want to go to like where I want to register. Okay, so I just go to that. So all of a sudden, my event stream is different, and I only have these so far, right?
Yeah.
And so fake events, I have these scenarios. All of them are here. So this little utility just gives me instantly a state that I want to be in without having a database backup or whatever. There you go. So that's kind of how easy it is to play with event sourcing and event modeling. It's very simple, but that simplicity allows you to scale to the globe because there's no surprises, there's no gotchas. Everything's so clear as to where those state transitions are and how they're handled. Does that make sense? I know it's unintuitive. Like, how can this handle a giant enterprise solution. Enterprises are just complicated on purpose. You can layer in everything that you want, but at the core, you got to have your state transitions correct. So I could layer in as much enterprisey stuff into the solution as I want. I could store these events into a dedicated event store type database that's built for it, and it wouldn't change how those command handlers work. My business logic would be the same. I would be just changing, all of this bootstrapping code and maybe dissecting this file into other smaller files. But for this it's easy. I can just fly around this one file, find every slice that I want. It follows the same structure every single time. Super boring. And my tests are right next to what I'm testing. I'm not jumping to another file. Notice that I'm testing this time slot edition. The tests are right next to it. Like, I don't have to go far. It's like right here.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's I don't know if that's like specific to event modeling. So let's quickly go back.
I mean, that's event sourcing. I don't have to have event modeling to do this, but this is exactly how that looks. I would just say one more thing about this is that I don't even have a unit test library. The unit test runner is here. There is no dependency on anything like JUnit or whatever. It's all here. There's no reason for me to have another library just for unit tests. It's here.
All right.
Isn't that awesome?
That's cool.
And that's it. That's the complication of this. I'm going for each slice. I'm going through each timeline, and I'm checking for each checkpoint, and I'm doing tests passing or tests failing by actually just running.
I'm not sure if that's such a.
That's it.
I'm not sure if that's such a great idea to write your own testing framework, but it's not,
because it hasn't failed ever. It's always runs.
That's not the purpose of a testing framework.
You know
that
what?
It never fails.
How long did it take me? It takes me less time to write this that does everything I need than it is to maintain and learn an entire unit testing thing. It's like why would I have something entirely external when I have less than a page of code, when I'm using a regular font size to do everything I need?
Yeah. That's the point. So you're writing your own test framework, but it's really minimalistic. It doesn't do a lot,
and
and that's enough for your case.
If I need a more elaborate test framework, why? What am I needing it for? Am I complicating things? You should ask yourself, why am I needing something more complicated? Am I running away from simplicity to overcomplicate things? That's the hardest thing that we do in this industry, is try to overcomplicate things because we want to own showing someone how smart we are. I think that's something that most people deny, but it's deeply rooted in saying, I know I have a very impressive LinkedIn, career, and I know all these things, and you can hire me because I can solve all your problems. That is the opposite of what you want for maintainable systems. You want simple to understand things that do not have 1,000 different ways and complicated gigantic libraries to do basic things like testing whether something actually gave you the exception you expected. Like, I don't want anything more complicated than this to test if I got an exception that I was expecting, or whatever it is, right? So yeah, I would say that we overcomplicate things in the industry, and it's hurting us badly. And I think we're learning this again through AI.
That would be nice, I think. If we are going back to simplicity.
I think we are, and I hope we are. I think we would. I think we would be very much better off if we went back to simple.
I mean, but that's like a common standard to make your code as readable as possible, and that's what I think what you're trying to say, or where you're trying to go with event modeling, that you really make it very readable and very accessible, the whole system. And that's where you started off with, like, it's a good system to communicate with your team to kind of display the whole system. And then it's even easier to just implement this whole system in code.
Like onboarding is easy. Like, you remember that thing that people used to say, like your company should run so well so that you could like have a new person join your team and like push something to production that same day.
Yeah.
You remember that challenge with like agile people and like clean architecture?
I don't know that challenge, but it sounds good.
It was
yeah.
a thing. It was like it was like a pride thing of like how good a company you're in. Like, oh, GitHub is such a good company, Valve is such a good company. All these companies,
Right.
like, oh, Spotify, the Spotify model, blah blah blah. We're so good. And one of the things that I always saw through those times, this is going back to like 20 years almost at this point, when there were people were starting to say that, is that, look, we have like a good regiment of TDD and we have this and that and the other, and we can get someone pushing production code the same day. That's how good we are. Well, we do that all the time, all day, every day, because what's our onboarding? Copy the previous slice that the other guy did, change the events, change the UI, and you should be done in an hour.
All right.
And push it to production. Literally.
Yeah.
Like, there is no book, because the patterns are so simple and there's so many examples of the same simple pattern being used properly that there is no need to have an onboarding process to work on these solutions.
So let's take a quick look at the Java app once more. Yeah. I think what's interesting is that delivery application service. So it has that event store and the clock. And if you add something to the warehouse, it does require text. What is this? Oh, I don't know.
I think my stuff's easier.
Yeah, probably. So that's what I'm wondering.
So I can guess as to why Claude or any other LLM, when you ask for an event source solution, will overcomplicate things. One of the things people don't realize is that event sourcing became popularized for a large segment of the event sourcing world in the domain-driven design practitioners space, where something called an aggregate, that ID that you're talking about, popped in.
Yeah.
Notice I didn't have a single thing like that in my implementation, right? It's always up to me to choose what I'm filtering on when I look at my events. Yes, that does get crazy if you arbitrarily start to pick out whichever property you want from whichever event. But there's a method to the madness, because you can support that with proper indexing, or you can support that with proper green boxes that already have the information. You don't have to go fetch them from the events themselves. So there's ways to address all of those things. And the interesting part about event sourcing is, if you take that very low level understanding, I just need events on disk. I never overwrite or delete anything, and I can always read whatever I want. If you continue to be more efficient at what you do, you will develop the proper way of understanding event sourcing yourself. So it's almost as if, and a large part of this is forgetting what we've been taught. So like we already talked about it, the dry principle, don't repeat yourself, use abstractions, have automated tests for everything all the time. A lot of these things are challenged because they don't bring the same value that they did for a traditional system. They're not necessary. They often are overhead. A lot of the things that seem good on the surface are actually the causes of a lot of problems. So there's a lot of unlearning to being good at event sourcing. Event sourcing is extremely easy, but people trying to cram in what they learned in college and what they learned in university and what they learned in the industry, the incompatibility of the simplicity with what they're used to is what creates the complications on event sourcing solutions. Yeah, that's the problem. It's not event sourcing itself. It's people bringing in their biases and other knowledge that doesn't apply, or things are superficial. So when you add superficial things, it makes a simple thing more complex with no benefit, right? So a lot of people, I wouldn't even dream that I myself one day 20 years ago would say, like, if I was rewind my life back 20 years ago, I would never think that I would say, I don't need unit tests. I was the biggest proponent of having the best coverage on unit tests, have the right level of abstraction so that you're testing implementation. And, I drank the TDD Kool-Aid like it was going out of style. I loved it, right? But I hit the peak of that. And I was honest to myself. This is not bringing any more value. This is as fast as you'll get. This is the the point of diminishing returns on that productivity curve, you needed to go to another hill. It's a local maxima. Anytime you try to find the vector that takes you to that hill, you're just getting to this absolute small peak here. And that's where the sort of just trying to improve yourself by small increments fails. You need a paradigm shift to jump to a bigger hill somewhere else. Optimizing the vector to find the top is not going to find you the other hill. Thinking about event sourcing, how simple these things are, and not doing the things you think you should be doing because that's what you're taught, is the only way you'll realize the full benefit of event sourcing, is to free yourself from old thinking.
All right.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's what makes it hard to adopt. It's not anything to do with event modeling or event sourcing itself. It's literally people's mindsets.
So you think with a junior developer, you have easier way of the developer learning event modeling than an experienced one?
And we have an example of that. We have a guy that had to change careers because he was a construction worker, fell off a roof and went through workers' compensation, had to change careers, couldn't work anymore in that. So yeah, we can work because we had, guess what, fixed costs. So even though one slice, because he's learning programming and everything from scratch, is going to take him a month, that's okay. We knew that after he was done and asked a lot of help and just went through all the stuff himself, he was going to produce his first slice and it'll work. And he kept trying until he did. And then, boom, second one took half the time. Third slice, half the time of that. I'll tell you, once he finished with us, in 2-3 years, he was a team lead at another company. In 2 years, never took a boot camp programming course, none of those things.
He stayed within his lane of event modeling.
Yeah, event modeling and event sourcing. He understood exactly what part was to be built. He knew that the scope was so, like those horizontal slices behind me are incredible for reducing the scope. Like, if I go into a giant solution, I know I can be productive the same day because even though the solution is giant, my problem space is incredibly tiny. I only have the events that I listen to from that green box, and maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe 10 of them. And then all I have to do is produce this screen that orchestrates the information to appear a certain way. And I don't care whether there's 1,000, 100,000, or 10 slices in the rest of it. It really doesn't matter to me. I can finish my job. Yeah.
Okay, so Ulrich is saying no onboarding needed and avoiding overcomplicated processes sounds quite promising for developers 50 plus as well. Maybe experience and domain knowledge still matter after all, not just how quickly someone can memorize the latest framework. I mean that's always the main goal, I think, in any project, that you actually get to the domain knowledge and know how this project works and the business logic of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What you're looking at in an event model is what your business cares about. It's what you and your colleagues should be working as a team to make a reality. And the fact that an event model can be shared with, like, your UI expert, your designers, your product people, your CEO that might actually have the reason that he started the company maybe because he has a unique insight into whatever domain that is. They're not removed. They're no longer arm's length away because they have to go through a bunch of directors to do that. We have a whole bunch of clients where the CEO is hands-on, and they feel so happy. They feel that they can actually understand where they're spending their money, where they're spending their time. They can see the progress. I mean, you can see the slices behind me highlighted in green for the ones that are finished. It's a trivial projection off of an event model to see what percentage of the project is done. Incredibly easy. And hey, you don't have to have it all thought out at first. Like we did right now. We started with a map of the route, how we're going to update the little truck position. We started with maybe a couple of other things about putting together an order. You don't need to know how big this project's going to get. What you have is a really honest unit of work that people can understand. I'm willing to pay you for that because I feel that part is important and we'll use it. And that's all you need to either go, I don't know where this is going, or to have an insurance company where everything is spelled out from beginning to end because it's a regulated industry, and the 100 slices every insurance company will have to do. So it works for the startup that's experimenting, and it works for the stable insurance company, and it works for a giant enterprise, because all you're changing for the enterprise is the bootstrapping code. You're not changing the state transitions.
Yeah.
You just need bigger bootstrapping code. It's like, hey, do I need 10 nodes, or like obviously odd number? You need 3 nodes for scaling, 5 nodes or whatever. That's fine. How are we going to do that? Maybe we drop in Exonic. Maybe we drop in something for that because the files aren't doing it anymore. Fine.
Yeah.
But what you're shipping is exactly the same events. Like your whole history is portable. I could delete the entire solution that I have, keep all the events that are on disk in that events folder, re-implement it, and it'll work exactly the same way.
Yeah.
And for versioning, like if you want to version something, the versioning is a very important part. That is something we should definitely include in this. Because do we have to go? Are we done for the time?
Well, we should come to an end at some point, and there are a couple of comments.
The last problem.
Yeah.
MVPs and this is good for brand new projects. What if your project's already old? What if I need to say, hey, my registration doesn't work this way anymore? What if my delivery truck screen is different? How do I version that? Event sourcing is like a ledger in accounting, in that if you have new reports, you just start doing them in a new way. If you have a new expense tracking system where you add more fields for each expense, you just start using that. Same thing with event source solutions. You start to use new versions of an event. You still handle the old ones, but they're, like you saw in the slice, they just go right beside the other one. You can see how your business used to run, because you still have to know that your registrations, some people registered a long time ago when the system was entirely different and it captured something in a specific way. That's not wrong. That's the reality of the past. And you have to project that properly. Now that you're registering a certain way, now that you're taking expenses a certain way, you still have to do that. And it doesn't matter. It might say, hey, this slice is getting big. It's got like way too many event handlers, but that's okay. Remember what I said about immutability? That is working. You don't have to worry that you're still handling the same old event the same old way, right? You understand how you're going to use the new event. Maybe you change how you handle the old event because you need to. It's all there in one place. It's not leaking into all the rest of the solutions. So you can pivot at any point to a new abstraction, to a new way of working, to a new set of requirements without that nightmare schema migration. The schema migration is one of the worst things in mature, large enterprise things. They are death knell for projects, even with AI. AI won't save you. So having this, seriously, I've been through so many nasty version 10 to version 11 in the enterprise that just, at some point they said it's easier to backport features to this customer that's still on version 10 because we cannot migrate their database to what we wrote for the new version. We just can't. Yeah. We've tried and we're failing. They keep getting errors. Mm-hmm. So it was easier to backport the features they needed from the new version to version 10. That's sad. But that does not happen in event sourcing. Yeah.
Everything sounds really good. I guess you just have to try out that system more and more. And I think you'll get to a couple of corner cases where you don't know where to go. But I guess by now there are books about this, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this is the best one so far. I'm writing the event modeling book, but this is Martin's book, Understanding Event Sourcing. It uses event modeling throughout the whole thing to explain event sourcing. So lots of diagrams. Okay. Great book. Was a top seller on LeanPub for many, many months when it came out, because a lot of people had this exact, this same problem. It's like, I've heard all these good things about event sourcing. Where can I start? And all the books were too technical and all that. It's using event modeling to explain event sourcing that really worked. And so many people love that book for it. And I always recommend that. Martin did an absolutely amazing job. He's working on the next version. I'm working on my event modeling 2 books, a handbook and a complete guide, both things that are out this year. So there's lots. There's also the Discord server that we have. There's tons of people
Oh yeah.
Going in there. So if you ever have a question, just go to eventmodeling.org. On the resources page, there's a link for the Discord.
Okay.
Hop in there. I'm in there. Martin's in there. A whole bunch of other practitioners. Hey, don't take it from me. Take it from others that are doing this successfully.
Yep.
With their own experiences. And yeah, it's a much better. I would never go back to traditional development. I like seeing that that set of events growing for any application that I write. I can just look at all of these events and understand that my state is good. I can put them in Git. I know that hash value, that's the state of that application. I can, like I showed you, that little utility, just pull up a scenario, run the application again, drop in at that point, and continue to work and show whatever I need.
Yeah.
So anyway, I would highly recommend people try it, but more importantly, I would highly recommend everyone switch to it, especially open source projects and things like that. There's so many problems in like public contributions of code which are not good, where code quality affects things. And here, code quality doesn't matter. If I really screw up one of those event handlers, it's only in that one slice. Mm-hmm. And as long as it's working, I don't have to fix it. It's not affecting the one you worked on, right? So that's another little compartments for all that. And yeah, the one thing that I would love to see is, an event model in every project, and no databases in any of these things, and just flat files for the growing state. That would be my dream, because I think with AI, the next feature is that the database will be just yet another utility and projection. It won't be the heart of an application.
Right, right.
And in the files and how they're stored is the heart of the application.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
I've been talking
we've been through very briefly through the Java app, but there's really no time to go over that now. But I committed all the changes that AI did and uploaded it. Ed also suggested that we should just let it use your GitHub as a model. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I can do that later on.
Yeah, it's very simple code. It's one page. Right. I mean, it fits within any context to any AI. It's just that one app.js, and you can actually delete most of the slices. Just have a few examples of one input and one output slice and one automation slice, and that little test framework. And that's it. You don't even need to put the whole project in there. And I think that'll keep the context window available to be larger, because your prompt will be smaller if you put that in.
Right. And Ed also has some idea, and he will DM you. He wrote. So,
all right.
Be excited about that. All right. So, Adam, again, thank you very much for showing us all that model, that system, that paradigm, I guess. And I'll be excited to try that out in the practical field a bit, like some open source projects. I mean, with AI, it's really easy, and I think you can really focus on the business side of things, let the AI handle the rest, and then.
But I would also suggest that people check out Martin Dilger's posts on LinkedIn, because just as of last week, his vibe coding the actual event model, like it's you can prompt and have the event model done for you, and that's where we're working. Like I'm more focused on the event modeling side from the top down. Martin went bottom up with the code generation to do all this, and now he's got kits. He's got like a Golang kit, Node.js kit. There's probably a Java kit there too. So if you
hopefully,
absolutely. But with AI, it's really easy to just make more of these kits, and you can say that, hey, here's my event model. Give me my Java solution that I want. Off you go, right? So
pretty cool.
Definitely check out Martin Dilger, D-I, maybe you can share it on D-I-L-G-E-R. Again, I'll show you his book. Where is it here? Just so you can see. Definitely get this book and connect with Martin on LinkedIn.
Dilger, okay.
Connect with him on LinkedIn and follow his YouTube channel he has as well, because every week he has 2 or 3 videos showing exactly what we're doing, but with AI sprinkled in at the right area. So, how we were drawing those screens and how we were connecting that, you can just prompt that and like it draws itself. You don't really have to drag and drop little arrows anymore, and same with the coding side. So lots of good people besides Martin doing other versions of their own event modeling tools. There's a proof board out of Berlin. Alexander's doing that. That's a whole PHP space. So a lot of good things out of Germany, actually. So many good people doing event modeling and event sourcing in Germany. So I'm very happy to see that it's blowing up there.
Okay. All right, cool. So thank you again very much. Thank to all the viewers.
It's very exciting, and I'm very happy that you're interested in exploring this, and hopefully we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds exciting. It's really cool. Well, yeah. And thanks to all the viewers.
Hold of me, you know how to get a hold of me, right?
Yeah. I mean, you have a couple of YouTube videos as well, so you're pretty present in the event sourcing scene as well, right?
Yeah, we do a podcast around once. We try for once a week on holidays, kind of do that. So there's about 47 episodes where you can lose yourself and just brainwash yourself by listening to all of them at once, and hopefully it will rub off on you.
Cool. All right. So that was it for today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you too, and have a great day.
Okay, thanks. See you next time.
All right.
Bye.